pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine partners.
My bitch a choosing lover, never fuck without a rubber. Never in the sheets like it on top of the cover. Money on the dresser, drive a compressor. Top notch hoes get the most, not the lesser. Trash like the fuck for $40 in the club. Fucking up the game, bitch, it gets no love. She be cross country, giving all that she got. 1,000 a pop, I'm pulling business off the lot. I smashed up the gray one, bought me a red. Every time we hit the parking lot, we turn head. Some hoes wanna choose, but them bitches too scary. Your bitch chose me, you ain't a pimp, you a fairy.
A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. A pimp, not a simp. We eat so many shrimp. I got iodine partners.
Damn it, why does it keep cutting me off? My bad. Well, I'm here in time at least. Hey guys. How y'all doing this evening? I'm sure some of you realize thought that I was involved in an earlier scrum with Canaan Land Wars. We'll have to talk about that another day. But tonight, as I promised, this is going to be a brief breakdown of Flat Earth Fokker's own breakdown of a hearing that he had. What makes this interesting is that this breakdown is involving his guru that he hired or contracted with or whatever the hell. And you get to see firsthand like the mentality of a guru and how he operates with his clients, which I think is something that needs to be shown and something that needs to be discussed. So without further ado, we can get this started. I also promise I'm going to try and cut through a lot of the BS. It's almost 2 hours long. We're not going to go through all 2 hours of it, but we'll be able to cut through some of it. I do like the initial splash page though, but before I do everything, hello everybody, Kat, Megan, Gary, Nada, Aaron, Gerswald, Arcadia, Rose, I know I'm missing so many of you. I'm sorry. He rhymes. But apparently you guys get all hurt if I don't acknowledge your existence at every stream. Anyway, I do like a splash saying all of videos are for educational purposes. Of course it is. Gotta have that cop out. A warrior does not thank YouTube for its blocking truth worldwide, exposing massive deceit and death. All right. What's up, OBT and Sean? Shut the fuck up, Pope. As I mentioned to you guys earlier when I talked about this, there is literally 7 minutes of nothing but weird new age music and flowers blooming. I don't know why this guy elected to have this as his intro, but literally 7 minutes of this before he finally appears.
Good evening, everybody. Today's date is Wednesday, January the 27th, 2021. My name's Christopher James, and it's an absolute honor and pleasure for me to be here with you this evening. We have a wonderful, another power-packed presentation here this evening to share incredible knowledge as we the people are gathering around this world.
Hey, Jeremy.
I want everyone to know that I've been starting these live streams back in August. I find it absolutely wonderful, and there's one line that completely grips me and stands out above all others within that communication, and that is waking up.
Get woke, bitches. Okay, so I'm going to try this one out. This is a Wildish Gambino. Flanders-style red ale, re-fermented in red wine barrels with mixed cultures. This is definitely a new one for me. You can't even see it. Wildish Gambino. Yeah, sure. Shit tastes like wine.
Costs everything. And that's how it reflects to me, because it has been an incredible journey for me and those of us who are awake.
I swear to God, if I get a wine hangover from this, I'm going to be very, very pissed off.
Those of us that are stepping up and armoring up with the knowledge, so to speak, and putting this around us as we enter into this battlefield that is rampant all around us in this world of this ignorance and of this fear mongering that's going on. And it's all based on deceit. And the battleground is truly bringing this truth any way, which way we can forward to our fellow man and woman. And that is why these live streams that I do are so important. You know,
I am not a wine person at all. That's the risk I'm taking here. But apparently I'm drinking a red ale that definitely tastes like a wine.
Say that Monday night's January the 25th program just got uploaded just before I went live here today. I got the communication from BitChute. It's been sitting there for 24 hours, basically.
Of course he's on BitChute. I still get triggered by this guy ripping off of Diablo and Skyrim imagery for his fucking website. But I'm going to, again, skip ahead to where he actually talks to Parhar 27 minutes into this fucking thing. So let's go.
Get all motivated and pumped up after, not feeling so good all day and a lot of uncertainty. I tried to channel Kevin J. Johnson after you had him on the show on Monday, man. That guy's been through so much, and he's still optimistic and warrior spirit in him. So I'm trying to channel that because, this is affecting me, all this having to go through all these hoops and hurdles and everything that the system is doing to me. So it does lean heavily on me at times. So,
yeah. Well, like I said, Mac, to everybody, is that, you were different than you've ever been, brother, on the call on Monday, and the people are going to see this. You're going to see a man appear, Mac of the Pahar family. And this man was confident. You could feel it in his every being, and he wasn't taking any shit, and he still carried himself honorably, because it is so easy to want to rip the heads off these people because you're seeing this massive corruption unfold against you, and they're ignoring their duties to provide good faith service, especially this clown, Daniel, who was acting as a magistrate or a justice or whatever he was. You wait till you hear some of the things that come out of this man's trap. And this is the things that people don't see that goes on in the court. Because if they saw that they were ignoring evidence that's being laid before the court, as these people have done, people would be outraged. And that's why we're doing this. We're going to bring this out into the light. So, other than that, Mac and I were in court. What time did it start, Mac? It was 9:30 your time, I think?
Yeah, it was scheduled for 9:30. I think there were 5 minutes later, the judges appeared. We started at 9:30.
I think Paul.
I shouldn't call him judge. Daniel showed up.
Yeah, well, like I say, don't spoil the conversation, because how you handled that was pretty good. And I'm going to stop at where you said that one line, just to clarify things. But it's all good. On not a performance from an actual appearance that Mac did, I'd give him a good solid 85 to 90 out of 100.
Oh wow, high praise coming from your guru.
He really did a great job. People have business gifts. They can't help themselves but fall all over themselves. And especially when you start to see the interaction between Mac and Danielle, it's pretty.
All right, here we go. Here's the actual hearing.
And I believe you're muted right now.
I don't have the number of the list, but it's for part.
The individual on the right is the judge, the Santa Claus looking guy. He's a judge or magistrate.
Sorry.
The woman on the bottom left, I believe she is the prosecutor for the Crown.
You're still muted.
There. How's that? Good.
Great, thank you, Your Honor.
Can everybody hear that, Paul?
Good morning, Your Honor. Adrian Switzer for the Federal Crown. For the
I can
record,
hear it.
that's SWITZER,
I'm asking everyone.
initial A. I have conduct of, I thought I had 2 matters on the list. I know that it is number 25 on the list, court file 81476.
Okay, we're good. Everyone can hear.
Okay.
There was another matter, a ticket. Mr. Pahar's, that I understood the first appearance was being put on today's date, and I wanted to address that issue. I didn't see it on the list, but I just glanced at it, so I'm not sure I've sent an email to the registry, but I don't know. But
It is on the list.
oh, it is, okay. What number is that?
It's number 1 on the traffic list.
Okay, also.
Yeah, unfortunately the echo is coming from the video. And I think yeah. So I can't help it. So I'm sorry about that.
Calling number 1 on that list.
Good morning, parents. This whole procedure is causing me wrong and harm. I'm here to settle all matters. I have some paperwork in the file before you. There is a challenge to jurisdiction. I've asked several times of the Crown if there's a verified claim from another man or woman. I'd like to solve that. If they can produce that, if there's an obligation or a contract with my wedding signature, a bill of particulars, or if somebody here is claiming that I'm their property. So I haven't got verification of that, and I would like
Mr. Parhart, I'm going to cut you off. You're charged with some quasi-criminal offenses. That's all we're going to deal with. The matter's been set for trial. This is not a commercial litigation in the slightest. And even if it was, none of what you're saying makes any. You're all bound by.
So already right now the judge is basically very well aware of what Parhar is all about and the whole BS legal argument. So he's trying to cut him off at the head, saying, "You're here because of these charges. We have a trial set. This is not a commercial hearing. So enough." He's trying to cut him off at the head, but unfortunately, he doesn't care and doesn't listen.
By the rulings of the superior courts have said that your arguments with respect to man, women, etc., are absolute nonsense.
So he's basically saying, dude, anything that you're going to bring up here is bullshit. It's nonsense. We're moving on.
Not propose to allow you to waste any of the court's time on. So.
Well, why am I being forced?
That is here because you will be arrested if you don't participate.
So is that a threat? Are you threatening me, Judge?
I am simply telling you that you will participate whether you like it or not.
Are you claiming that I'm your property? Are you claiming that I am property?
Mr. Parhart, we will not get to
That a boy, Mac.
hearing.
Judge, Daniel, yes or no question.
And discussion.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Paul, I can't hear anything right now.
I think something's up with your mic, Daniel. I'm having trouble hearing you.
You will address me appropriately.
And now he just says he calls him Daniel, so basically disrespecting him.
And I will address you appropriately.
I'd like to be addressed. I'd like to be addressed as Your Royal Highness.
Well, I will address you appropriately as Mr. Parhart.
Can you pause it there,
I'll
Paul?
address you as Daniel.
Thanks, Paul. What you can do, Mac, is you can refresh your screen. Try that. That's what it did for me, and it brought the audio and the picture, everything all back in for me.
Yeah, I just did that. It worked.
Okay, terrific. So for where we've got to right now, hopefully all of you have just heard the absolute ignorance and arrogance of this man, that you're going to do what you're told, blah, 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 blah. And now he started in with Mac, so honorably dressed him, as Danielle, the honorable man. Well, he didn't like that. He wanted to be called whatever he wanted to be called. This was the only one issue that I had with Mac, that he said, "I'd like to be called Your Royal Highness." I realized he was being a little bit of a smartass, but we don't do this, guys, in the courts, okay? This
A little bit.
is dead serious. This is Mac's life that's on the line here, his future, everything that's happening. So we don't want to give any food for thought or to
Yeah, that's the only issue, is that Parhar was being a smartass at the
these
judge.
guys to basically take something and run with it. Okay, and this little maggot in the center there with the glasses, his little cocky smiles that he gets all the time. This is what these little parasites are like, these lawyers, right? Because
The guru really doesn't like lawyers. He really doesn't like.
They
us
listen
at
to
all.
this guy that's acting as a justice in their little realm, in their little world, and they just love when he says, well, none of what you say is making sense, or I'm not going to accept any of it, all this sort of stuff. So
Exactly. So what are you going to do about it?
we'll carry on here moving forward, but pay very close attention to the words. Max did a great job here addressing right off the case. What did he do? He addressed, is there a verified claim before the court? He addressed, is there an obligation that they're relying upon? Is there a bill of particulars of damages that he's done? These are the foundational things for a court to be able to move, right? Or who there claims that he's property.
Not when they're irrelevant to the matters at hand. They're irrelevant, completely irrelevant.
And they ignored it all
Exactly. Of course they're going to ignore it because it's irrelevant.
because they don't have the evidence for that. And that's why they're just moving forward ahead, because they cannot lose face with this with Mac, because everything's going to come crashing down around them if the world sees what is actually going on. And that's exactly what we're going to do collectively, people. Hit play again, Paul. Thank you.
The Parhar is Flat Earth Fokker, but the guru's name is Christopher James. He's like a Canadian SovCit guru.
So, Ms. Switzer, how many witnesses are you calling at Mr. Parhar's trial?
Yes, Your Honor. I haven't interviewed them yet, so of course this is subject to, once I interview them, I may be able to eliminate some of the witnesses. But right now I've got likely 6 to 8 witnesses. Hopefully that can be narrowed to 6. They all have fairly discrete, narrow pieces of evidence. For instance, there's the individuals who dealt with him on his return to the country.
Yes, Sean. For those unaware, Parhar is arrested and being tried for violating Canada's quarantine laws.
At the airport, who can identify that he is the person who is subject to the quarantine, the order of Counsel under the Quarantine Act. And then there are the various officers who attended his residence on the different occasions that he was not home. There are the officers who arrested him returning to his home. And then there's also an officer who from the Vancouver Police Department who was at a rally, an anti-mask rally that Mr. Pahar was at during the when he was meant to be under quarantine. And then there's an officer who downloaded. Mr. Pahar is an avid YouTuber who live streams his activities.
And also Pahar gave us the evidence himself.
And there's an officer who will speak to introducing some of the video evidence that will also be demonstrative of his activities while subject to the quarantine order.
Okay. And
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul?
yeah.
Thanks, Paul. So listen to the verbiage that this woman is spewing out, okay? They're talking about Mac as if, oh, well, he was outside out of their quarantine, that they deemed him quarantine. Who quarantines a man that's healthy?
Well, if he's a Canadian resident, or if he's entering Canada, or visiting Canada, or staying in anywhere in the territory known as Canada, they're subject to Canadian law. And Canadian law passed a law about the quarantine, that you have to do that. There you go. Pahar fits all that criteria, so he's subject to the Quarantine Act.
Okay, there's nothing wrong with Mac. He's healthier than an ox or
Irrelevant.
whatever. He might be under a lot of stress, but they are demonizing him as if this man is a terrorist. The nerve of him to actually disobey their orders to go out and be free as he's been all his life, because
He signed, I mean, as Omega pointed out, he signed an agreement saying that he promised the quarantine.
they believe that some quarantine act, again, applies to him. That's why it's so important you understand the power of that word. Produce the obligation. In order for that quarantine act to apply to Mac, there's got to be an obligation, and he has to consent to it. And he hasn't done that.
Again, I thought he signed a paper saying that he promised the quarantine.
So listen.
Just because you put in under duress under it doesn't mean it's ineffective or null and void.
Listen to the words. And what does she use? The person.
Yeah.
Pay very close attention to the words, the verbiage that they use. Okay? Carry on, Paul. Thank you.
Issues I was hoping to address.
Yeah. All right.
First first of all, I haven't interviewed any of the witnesses yet, and I've had difficulty getting disclosure to Mr. Parhar. Obviously, as Mr. Honor is well aware, it's Mr. Parhar's right to have full access to all of the fruits of the Crown's case. But I've had quite a bit of difficulty sending disclosure to him, and I would like him to understand that it's his right to have access to that information so he can defend himself. And as I interview officers, it may be that some additional disclosure arises I need to send to him. And the last address he gave me, the disclosure was returned to that address, returned from it as him not living there. I was hoping he could confirm if something arises, by what means would he like? I was hoping he could confirm.
Okay.
Returned to that address, returned from it as him not living there. I was hoping he.
Okay, so she's saying that she's trying to send him disclosure or discovery, essentially, and discovery is being returned to the Crown as, you know, it's the fault of the either the call or them like replaying the meeting itself. Unfortunately, that's something that's out of my hands to rectify. But she's trying to submit disclosure. It keeps getting returned to them as this person doesn't live here. So she's trying to like give this guy disclosure.
Confirm if something arises, by what means would he like me to send it to him? Mr. Pahar, do you want me to email it to you from the Flat Earth address?
He has a fucking Flat Earth address.
Well, I don't really want any gifts from you guys. If you.
Okay, so apparently part of the whole meme that this guru says, like, you don't want to accept anything from them. You always want to say it's a gift, as if it's like there's some sort of contractual thing that changes if they don't say that they're accepting whatever the Crown sends to them as a gift. Again, asinine.
I mean, I don't want anything that would put me in joinder with you. If you want to send me a no obligation gift, I would be willing to accept that as long as it doesn't put me in joinder.
Oh my God! Shut the fuck up.
You know, these proceedings apply to me. You're just asserting that I have to participate like I'm property.
So what I intend to do with the disclosure
Okay.
is, if anything new arises or comes to my attention or there are any changes, I will both email it to him and send to registered mail to the New Westminster address that was the location where the quarantine was meant to take place. That is the one location we did seem to get mail through to. That's what I propose to do going forward. And Mr. Pahar certainly has contacted me. He knows how to reach me if he has any questions. Another issue that I was hoping to address is Mr. Pahar, as I indicated, this was an ongoing, he was subject to the Quarantine Act for 2 weeks. He violated that Quarantine Act almost every single day from the day that after he arrived. And so the first 2 instances of the violation were tickets. Those tickets were issued, and tickets under the Quarantine Act are dealt with through ICBC, and then they get traversed over to the court system if they're disputed. I understand that notices of dispute have been registered.
ICBC? Okay, I'm going to... Yes, this is a Canadian Flerf, John. I'm going to guess that ICBC means, like, Immigration and Customs of British Columbia? Because I know that's the province that he's in. I'm going to wager that that's my guess, and then it's transferred to the court.
On both tickets. As in, Mr. Pahar wishes to dispute both tickets. The information laid then is related to the latter days in the events. So what the disclosure package is a singular disclosure package for all events. All witnesses, will says, and everything for each of the days is included. And from my perspective, if he intends to dispute the other 2 matters, it is going to be most efficient and reasonable to proceed with all 3 trials. And this is assuming Mr. Pahar wishes to challenge the other 2, the 2 tickets, on the same day, because there are overlap witnesses, and I think it would be most efficient rather than having 3 separate occasions.
So basically what she's saying there is, instead of having a separate Am I drinking out of a bottle of wine? Okay, I know it looks like a bottle of wine, and it kind of tastes like wine, but this is apparently a Wildish Gambino. It is a Flanders-style red ale re-fermented in red wine barrels with mixed cultures. 6.9% alcohol. So it's technically, my understanding, is a beer. But it does taste a lot like wine. Doesn't have the same level of bite, but it does taste like wine. But what she was saying is that she wants to have all 3 trials regarding the tickets that he got on the same day, or even in the same instance. So we have a more efficient process. Excuse me, a more efficient process rather than having 3 separate trials for each ticket. Makes sense to me.
All right. Is there any consideration given to simply laying a fresh information?
I looked into that, and I didn't believe, it was my understanding from my, I'm not sure that that's possible. With other federal tickets, it is, but this is dealt with under the Offence Act, the British Columbia Offence Act. I can look into that, but because they were already registered with ICBC by the time I was dealing with it, and my communications with my supervisor left me with the impression that wasn't as much of an option. But it is.
Well, I don't know if Mr. Baldwin has an opinion on that, because sometimes we see motor vehicle act infractions combined with criminal code infractions. I don't know.
The only limitation that I can think of is if one is straight indictable and we're trying to add straight summary matters onto an information with a straight indictable matter. But if they're all summary and they all have the same burden of proof, then that's a problem.
Now that I understand, one has made it to the registry, is on the list for today, which is, and I asked that.
I know I get it, John. Hey, Emmy, but I'm able to focus on what they're saying in terms of the pretrial stuff, and I get it. For those of you watching, this is kind of boring, grindy lawyer legalese speak. I get it, but it's also kind of important to note, especially to note what the reactions are to what they say, because oftentimes you realize that they don't know what the fuck is going on, and they're just pretending oh, this is the typical lawyer mumbo jumbo that's trying to trip you up and steal away your rights, yada yada yada.
ITBC, and I understand the other one's been processed and is actually being mailed to the registry and should arrive there this week. So I can certainly look into this, and I could stay those charges and then relay this information. It would amount to the same thing, but the main issue that I'd like to, I think it would be effectively the same as if both tickets were adjourned to that date for Mr. Pahar to have an opportunity to challenge those.
Yeah, either way you cut it, they're all going to be heard on the same day.
That is what I would like. So the other ticket, because it's not yet made the list, I just wanted to arrange, because it can be arranged that be set immediately to that date.
Yeah, I do blame her for not having freaking headphones so that we're not hearing a freaking echo from her side.
Or if Mr. Pahar would like to come back for another pretrial conference to discuss that, I'm amenable to that as well. He is, I believe, he is self-represented.
I just want to say, Honorable Man Daniel, do you have my notices that I filed last week in the file before you?
I haven't seen anything, no.
Can you check the file?
Nope. She's the prosecution, John. The guy, my chair's blocking him sort of, but at the bottom left underneath Santa Claus, that is the Flerf's counsel guru, and he'll be chiming in here in a bit.
Please, I need to know because I have the staff.
The man in the middle, I can't remember what his role is, but the man on the right side, that is the magistrate judge.
Copies. I want it on the record that you have those notices in the file.
I have not seen it. Just give me a moment, and I will see.
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul?
Now you're hearing the guru.
So thank you very much. So what's actually going on here, everyone? Mac, if you're there too as well, just make sure you got your mic mute and everything when we're playing the video. I'm not sure where this extra noise is coming from. And I apologize for that, people. But at the end of the day, it was really brutal for Mac and I listening to this while it was going on. So what Mac is addressing here right now, these are the notices, as I've said to everyone. You put these in ahead of time into the record because, as you see, these people don't want you to speak. They don't want to hear your voice, and they can't hear your voice in the legal world. That's why you put everything in writing powerfully and succinctly and simply into their court file so that they are aware of exactly what you're being communicating to them at this time. So, excuse me, there were 3 notices that went into the court. There was notice of appearance. There was notice jurisdiction. That's challenging the jurisdiction of this court. And the third one was notice liability. Okay? So now this man that's acting for, again, this man Danielle, the honorable man Danielle, who's supposed to be honorable.
Now he's intentionally calling him Danielle instead of Daniel, but I mean, let's why not be petty on top of being wrong?
Is acting for a service corporation, British Columbia. Remember that. All these people are being paid on our dime, and all of them are going after a man making an enormous amounts of money for their time who has caused no wrong or harm to anybody just because he didn't follow some quarantine act that doesn't apply to a man or woman. That's what I mean. It's different if Mac was actually diagnosed, and had to stay at home and he was infecting everywhere he went. Right? Everyone up and down the street, dogs, birds, everything, right? This guy's a nightmare. Everyone's dropping dead around Mac. That wasn't happening. There's no single man or woman that he's caused wrong or harm to. What he has done is he has stood up for his rights as a man. And that's why you're seeing this corrupt theater unfold in front of you. Now watch what this man Danielle does. Carrying on playing, Paul. Thank you.
File.
Okay, do you know if they've been uploaded to the P drive?
It doesn't note it here.
Oh, here's where like some technical difficulties with the court. It happens. We're gonna skip ahead.
Questions designed to elicit the information that the Crown says will provide the necessary evidence to try and prove their case.
I'm ignoring that conversation in chat, by the way.
When a witness has finished answering all of the questions of the Crown, you will have an opportunity to cross-examine that witness.
Okay, now the judge is telling Parhar how the trial procedure is going to operate.
The cross-examination can be wide-ranging in terms of their evidence, but it will be limited to relevant issues.
Now the judge is warning him, your cross-examination is going to be limited to relevant issues and not your BS sovereign citizen Mark Stevens crap.
There will not be any permission given to cross-examine on issues that have nothing to do with the normal course of the running of a trial in Canada. When you have finished cross-examining a particular witness, Crown will call their next witness, and the same procedure will follow from witness to witness until the Crown has finished calling all of their witnesses and has put in whatever evidence they've got in terms of either documents or video clips, which they'll have to prove the authenticity of, having our evidence facing you, or as they have
has no choice. No
line. That's a simple outline.
Can you pause it, Paul? Okay, so this man's telling him he's got no choice. I should put my picture up here as well. This man's telling Mac that he has no choice, that he has to appear. See this authoritative stuff that's going on? This man is supposed to be acting Honorable Danielle. Simply, does he claim that Mac Pahar is his property? No. You're going to hear this very soon when Mac gets into it. There's no obligation, there's no contract, there's no man or woman that he's caused wrong or harm to, and yet these people are forcing him in because he chose to ignore people that are committing massive fraud in our world. This is what you have to understand what is before you here. When you hear this type of speaking, that you're not going to be allowed to speak outside to the stuff that's been ruled upon over and over, and they've called it nonsense. Who's called it nonsense, Daniel? Right? What? Oh, your bar members?
Yeah, the courts that are charged and entrusted with interpreting the laws of Canada.
These people that are wearing the black robes, these parasites that are profiting and stealing off we the people? That's what he's referring to. We don't give a rat's arse what Danielle or any other man or woman on this call thinks.
You will when you get thrown in prison.
All that matters is that when we seat a jury of our peers, that they are given the truth and the evidence. What do you think a jury of Mac's peers or your peers are going to say when they realize that this man's caused no wrong or harm? There's no obligation that he's breached. There's no man or woman coming forward with a bill of particulars.
They'll probably say, "Oh, he flaunted a quarantine act that was lawfully passed, and he is subject to it. Guilty."
They're going to realize that there is no court here, and all of these people are billing you through taxation for all of this ridiculous waste of time. This is why you have to understand that there is no justice system in this country. Okay, it is a just us system.
Oh God, I've already heard that one so many times at this point.
These people here before you, none of them are acting lawfully, never mind honorably. They're completely ignoring their role and duty to ask and understand the questions that are being put before them. If they don't understand them, they are still required to provide an answer, which this man, Danielle, is supposed to be the honorable, independent, party that's involved in this, overseeing this. He's not having anything to do with listening to what Mac is bringing forward. And these are 4 questions that are very powerful. And this is why they don't touch them. This is why they have to, basically say to people and belittle them in court, this is all nonsense. These people have ruled against us. And where you argue, you can't argue with them in their courts. Okay, because they are just going to steamroll over you. They just are not going to listen. That's why you have to file and move claims in courts against these people. And that's what we're ultimately going to do. Again, Adrian Switzer.
And it's going to be fruitless. It's going to be non-enforceable, and nobody's going to fucking care. And Pahar is going to be found guilty, and he's going to be thrown in prison.
So, she's already included in the initial claim, the woman in the bottom left there, that Mac filed on November the 13th, 2020.
Bottom left.
Up top, I believe he might be your assistant at the Department of Justice for Canada. I'm not sure. I've never met him before. I'm just hearing his name being talked about for the first time here.
I think he's the provincial crown attorney. The provincial crown attorney.
Okay.
That's at New West Courthouse.
Right. So people need to know this, is that if Mac goes and he appears at this court, this trial that they're putting together, right, they are not going to listen to anything. That's what this man Daniel's telling him. We're not going to hear any of this stuff anymore.
We're not going to hear any of your bullshit. Your questioning is going to be limited to the facts at hand. That's what he's saying.
More. Okay, we don't want to hear it. That's right. You don't want to hear it in your courts because it has no standing in your courts, but he still has a duty and obligation acting as a justice that when a jurisdictional challenge has been brought forth, this man's clearly ignorant of law. He doesn't understand the 3 jurisdictions, land, air, and water.
What about earth, wind, and fire?
And he wants everyone just to believe that the dictates, what he puts out, or anybody that the Supreme Court has ruled on. Like, see, the Supreme Court is the Bible for everybody. These people that all belong to the Supreme Court society, Supreme Court rules of civil procedure, so to speak, that created it, that they're the people that are creating our rules and our laws, and they're the ones that are ensuring that the process is moving forward. Well, you're seeing the process move in front of you here. They're just ignoring Mac flat out. Keep running it, Paul. Thanks, Mac.
The essential elements are going to be were you out of the country?
And now the judge is going to give him one of the essential elements of the crime that he's being alleged to have committed.
Were you subject to provisions of
Were you outside the country? Were you subject to the provisions of the Quarantine Act?
Were you warned specifically so that you clearly had knowledge of how it applied specifically?
Did you have knowledge of the consequences of violating the Quarantine Act?
In your case, were you told the rules under the Act and the order? Did you obey or disobey the law as set out under the Quarantine Act? And It happened at approximately.
Pause it there, Paul.
the date.
There it is right there for you people. Did you obey or did you not obey?
Yeah.
See? These people have got nothing to do with law. All right? It's right in your face what's going on here. And this is what's so repugnant. And this is why this has been recorded. This is why we're going to continue to bring these truths out into the light, because your average man and woman, they've never stepped into a courthouse. They've never understood what's going on. But all the people that have been
The name of the guy talking wazoo is Christopher James.
watching and understanding and learning these truths through my website and also through various journeys that they've gone on are now seeing in real time. This is what's going on in our public courthouses. These people are not the law. This man that's supposed to be acting honorable Danielle, he's supposed to be a neutral party. And if Mac, as he has honorably done here, and he's put it in writing so that there's no miscommunication before this court, this man has a duty to stop everything, and there should be a hearing on jurisdiction. But they don't want to hear it because as far as this man Danielle's concerned, the society that he's been a member of for all these years, they've already ruled on all this nonsense and ridiculousness that people bring up and waste court's time.
Yeah. Meads versus Meads.
Look at the court time that's being wasted right now and the taxpayers' money that's being spent on these people.
Like you give a flying fuck about how tax dollars are being spent. You claim to not even be part of the society, so fuck off.
Trying to do all they can to do nothing more than support their corruption, in which they're trying to implement and enforce and make people obey belongs to them and applies to them. Carry on, Paul.
Outlined in the allegations. There may or may not be, depending on how the evidence comes out. If it turns out that the same act that...
Okay, I'm gonna skip ahead because even his stuttering and terrible broadband connection is starting to grate me.
Okay. The same...
Lynette, I'm drinking a Wildish Gambino, a Flanders-style red ale, re-ferment. This is going to be the last time I say this, by the way. Flanders-style red ale, re-fermented in red wine barrels with mixed cultures.
Rules will apply to whoever is in the courtroom.
OPT, what the fuck? Why did you time out Danielle? OPT, you timed out, or excuse me, Deacon. Not Danielle, Deacon. It said you did. What the hell?
So, Mac of the Bahar family. Blah, blah, blah. Notice of appearance. I'm Mad Mac.
OPT, why?
Okay.
So he's not reading them on the record.
I
He's reading them on the
saw
screen.
this document a month or two ago. Nonsense.
Filed in the past.
So then Mac knows a counselor. So the family notice appearance is nonsense. Counselor at law. Anybody give notice counselor at law? As of this day, any letters sent to Christopher James.
Now he's referencing. Now he's reading. Some of the sovereign citizen. Paperwork that he's filed, and he's also referencing where the paperwork where it lists the guru as his counsel. Hang on, let me go back a second.
So the family notice appearance is nonsense.
On the record. He's reading them on the screen.
Okay, OPT, you better apologize to Deacon when she's out of timeout.
A month or two ago.
Nonsense. Filed in the past.
So Yeah. So then, Mac knows a counselor. So the family notice appearance is nonsense. Counselor at law. Anybody give notice counselor at law? As of this day, any and all letters sent to Chris.
Hey, thanks, James, for the £2 super chat. At Flat Eat Society has members all around the world. Yes, they do. Hello, furry.
For James. Let's see. And who is Christopher James?
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul? That is me on the call here. So I just want everyone to know something that I realized afterwards. Mac told me after we went into this court that I didn't realize. This man, Daniel, acting as the honorable magistrate or judge, he was actually the man that was the bond representative when Mac was getting bonded out of custody when he had been kidnapped. So this man has obviously a conflict of interest. He should not be involved in this case matter now because he's liable for what happened to Mac when he was trespassed upon and they arrested him and they kidnapped him and they locked him up for several days. That's why I need to see, and that's why I need to understand. That's what this man was just stating, saying, oh, I've seen this stuff before. This is nonsense, right? Well, it's not for him to decide. This is why in a proper courtroom, you have, a jury of your peers sitting there, a jury. They're the
I understood the joke, James.
Decide whether something is nonsense or whether something is true or not. And that's why when these truths actually get put before a jury of our peers, this nonsense is going to stop. Carry on, Paul.
Is you on the call? All right. Christopher James, where are you?
I'm right here, sir.
Oh, I see. Christopher Guest. Okay. And you plan...
Oh, okay. So this part I actually haven't seen yet, where he actually is talking directly to Christopher James, to the guru. Okay, welcome back, Deacon.
It says that all the communications are sent to you, but it doesn't say where you are. It's a little hard to send you anything.
That was put in prior communication. I guess it's not in the file.
Well, you want to let us in on the secret?
It was put in on the 18th as well.
Yep. You can send everything to Mac. It's fine. As long as Mac gets it, then we will deal with it here.
Okay.
So that's in Ontario?
Yes.
So
I refuse to acknowledge y'all's Ned Flanders ale joke.
I'm not clear on whether Mr. James is planning to attend for the trial to assist Mr. Pahar.
I will have to decide at that down the road here as we move forward. The one question that I do have is the Supreme Court civil rules that have been talked about. Could you please provide the evidence that applies to we the people?
No.
No, as soon as he started, Daniel's like, nope, we're not dealing with this shit.
We're not rabbit holes.
We're not using the Supreme Court rules. I've never mentioned the Supreme Court rules. We are in provincial court. We're subject to the provincial court rules.
Oh, is that the rules of civil procedure?
No.
No.
Is it the Supreme Court civil rules?
No.
It's a separate set of rules then. Okay, I'm not familiar with that. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, of course you would. You don't know shit.
Well, then look at it.
Look it up.
So what rules are we using? How can I prepare myself if I don't know what these rules are? I can't find anything about these quasi-criminal court rules.
I just explained to you fundamental rules.
Okay.
All right.
Like, yeah, by the way, we're not in civil. This is a criminal matter.
So,
Can you pause it for a sec, Paul? Thanks. So I just want everyone to know I was basically playing there with him, right? I wanted to just bring that out into the open and clarify that this isn't moving under the rules of civil procedure and that this isn't moving under the Supreme Court civil rules. That's what's used in their superior courts in the federal level in British Columbia. They don't refer to it as the rules of civil procedure in Ontario. They call it the Supreme Court civil rules. So I was just basically pushing there to find out exactly where are these rules I wanted him to state on the record upon which he's relying for jurisdiction. And this is what Mac also very wonderfully followed up and said, how am I supposed to proceed if I don't know what these rules are coming from?
Get a lawyer.
So it's just another element that we just wanted to get as much information moving forward before we do our next steps. Carry on, Paul.
Notice jurisdiction. All right, I just looked at your notice of jurisdiction. This is not a foreign court, and the matter of jurisdiction has already been overruled by all the superior courts, so it won't be part of the trial.
Wow.
Notice of liability. The notice of liability has also been dealt with by the superior courts in several provinces and has been deemed to be nonsense and will not be part of the trial.
This is a legal proceeding, correct? Pause it, please, Paul. So he's basically come up here and he says this is nonsense. The notice of liability, really?
Yeah.
Whose notice of liability?
Yours. The one you submitted, asshole.
Because this is Mac's notice of liability.
Exactly.
So are you telling me that there's been some sort of a court that jumped into the future many years ago and found this notice of liability that we've just put into this man here today, and they've grabbed it and they've taken it back, and in an open and public court with the people, they've decided that this is ruled on it, as he said, that this is nonsense?
He's ruling on it right now.
See, this is what they do, people. They want to block everything from possibly happening or any type of discussion occurring surrounding the jurisdiction that control was actually moving this court forward right now. This is why I say you don't speak in their courts, because they're just going to blow through you. But if you noticed here, this man hasn't read a damn thing onto the record, but he has admitted that he received these communications. And these 3 notices are all evidence for Mac Pahar moving forward, challenging the jurisdiction that it was ignored. You don't care about prior court rulings or whatever. What did that have to do with the man Mac and in this here and now present moment?
Well, here's the thing. Canada operates under the common law. The common law, as most attorneys define it, means law that is in part defined, that is based upon prior rulings having precedence over future circumstances. In other words, the courts are going to, in general, obviously there's exceptions to that, follow the rulings of previous courts in order to at least maintain some semblance of consistency in rulings based on the facts and circumstances surrounding each case. That way that matters aren't arbitrarily laws and rulings aren't seemingly arbitrarily defined depending on the new case and the new circumstances. So that's what that is. That's the common law. So that's why prior precedent matters in your case. So if someone comes in and spouts the same bullshit legal arguments and is struck down, the court's going to look at that, say, hey, somebody else brought the exact same bullshit legal arguments as you are, and it was struck down as nonsense, so I don't see any reason to contradict the court in this situation, so yours is also going to be struck down as nonsense.
Absolutely nothing. All right? So the nonsense that this man, he believes, he's entitled to believe whatever he wants, but the fact of the matter is that what he's referring to is not nonsense. It is actually valid. It is verified.
According to you,
that Mac is not property. There's no obligation that's been presented. There is no man or woman that's come forward with a claim of trespass.
Irrelevant.
And there's no bill of particulars, right?
Irrelevant.
There is no court. And yet they don't want to hear that. All they want to do is they got to keep pushing the boulder down the road because this is what people are writing within the larger service corporation, and this is how they all get paid. Carry on, Mac.
Good day to the man who acting. All right. All right. So, Mr. Parhar, I have looked at each one of your documents. You're on mute.
Christopher, you had a question?
Nope, I'm fine.
Good.
I don't consent to any of this, but as I said, Mac has put this before the court. You know, we need to understand where these rules, who wrote them, right? This is a common law country last time I checked, so we just need to make sure.
No, but your definition of common law is very, very, very different than how it's understood by everybody else.
We're in the right jurisdiction,
Clown.
honorably.
Yeah, we are in the right jurisdiction.
I haven't seen that demonstrated with respect.
Well,
This
with
is illegal.
respect, it's amply demonstrated. It's not totally a common law jurisdiction. It's also governed by Parliament and the statutes passed by the people's representatives in Parliament.
And so again, apparently we need to give these guys a fucking civics lesson in the middle of open court.
But that's not law.
All right, so
It is law, you fucking idiot.
that
Pause it there, Paul.
happens to be-
So there again, I shouldn't have cut myself off. That's why I went around. Well, that's not law, right? These are people that work for a service corporation that are supposed to be writing policy that's supposed to be protecting the property of man, not creating policy and legislation, codes, rules, acts, and statutes, okay, that benefit these people here, all right? And you can hear the arrogance that's coming out of this man. Daniel is supposed to be
What about the arrogance coming out of you?
acting honorable. He's really showing, all right, what is going on right now. He would never speak like that if there was a room filled with people, okay? Because he would be obviously outnumbered and he'd be overruled very quickly.
Oh, so mob rule.
And that's why the juries need to understand jury nullification. But we'll carry on with this right now, Paul.
your statement, and you happen to be wrong and I happen to be right. Carry on.
Honorable man, can you just confirm that because I'm speaking with you right now and you have my notice of appearance, can you confirm for the record that I am a living, breathing man?
Oh my God.
You do not appear to be dead. Yes, you are a living,
You do not appear to be dead.
breathing human being.
No, man.
I
am not going to assume your gender, sir.
I think we covered this during your bail hearing.
Well, I just wanted for the record, if you can just confirm that I'm a living, breathing man and none of this human being person nonsense, just that I'm a living, breathing man.
Make one a sub sound.
I can see that you are a living, breathing human being.
Okay, so man or woman, can you confirm that I'm a living, breathing man or woman?
Oh my God. I love how he thinks that this has some sort of significance if the judge says this. Like he's going to win somehow, some way from some authority that we haven't figured out yet.
One of the people.
You're one of the people.
Okay, thank you.
And both men and women can be equally prosecuted under the Quarantine Act.
Oh!
It doesn't matter
Men and women can be prosecuted under the Quarantine Act.
whether you're a man or a woman.
Will the prosecution... Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, shit.
As long as you're not a little child, and you're clearly not a little child.
Well, you're not...
Will the prosecution provide evidence of that?
You're not a child, so I guess you are a man.
That the Quarantine Act... That the Quarantine Act applies to a man or woman?
Mr. Parhar, it is a given.
It's given. Yeah, it's a given.
The end of that. That's the end of that discussion.
I'd
That's
like
the
to ask
end.
you time. Prosecute and provide evidence that the Quarantine Act applies to a living man or woman. It's an easy yes or no.
It's a legal question that the prosecutor can only make submissions on, and judges make rulings. It applies to everyone within the jurisdiction of Canada, whether you're a citizen or not.
So for
Bam.
the third and final time, will the prosecution provide evidence that the Quarantine Act applies to a living man or woman?
Ms. Switzer, anything else that needs to be discussed?
Yeah, and at that point, they're just like, all right, we're going to finish this up.
No, not that I'm aware of. I haven't actually received a confirmation from every single witness yet, although I've sent out a second confirmation of that. I don't anticipate, given the circumstances of the day, that there will be any scheduling issues with any of the witnesses. So I just want to confirm that all matters will be set for the 8th of March, and so that Mr. Pahar is aware of that. And
mark your calendars.
that there is no further disclosure from the Crown for either of the tickets, unless you request something.
What you've said is you've sent him a package, and new material may or may not arise as you interview witnesses, so he's certainly entitled to receive that and receive it in good time, and what he does with it is up to him.
Just for the record, I will receive all of this stuff, but not accept and consent to any joinder. I will accept it as a gift.
Oh my God, it's fine. Nobody cares.
For the record.
On the record, and let the record show.
Sure, that's perfectly fine. I suggest that you do read it, because if, and it's a big if the Crown is successful in its prosecution, there will be consequences that follow, and the consequences would apply to you. So it is in your best interest to read the material and try, if you're going to be pleading not guilty, to try to arrange your defense in such a way that it meets relevant issues that the Crown has to prove. All right. Any other issues to be discussed or settled today?
No, not from the Crown's perspective. Just Mr. Pahar should be adjourned to attend on the 8th on both matters. Person.
I just want to end with saying at the end here, I do not, for the record again, I do not consent and a trespass.
Have a choice, just like any citizen. All right. Well, you don't have a choice, just like any citizen or person who is found within Canada. Just listen to me. It doesn't matter if you're a citizen. If there's an allegation against a person who is found in...
Well, I would say that most people who have been charged with a crime probably doesn't consent to the proceedings. That's just my guess.
Canada to have violated a law, you are obligated to participate in the determination whether or not the Crown can prove the violation. So, unless you have any other questions that are relevant to March the 8th,
Person, will the Crown provide evidence that I am a citizen or a person?
Oh my God.
the only requirement is for the Crown to prove that you were in Canada.
Yeah.
Columbia.
Well,
Well, I'm not asking for your consent.
again, I don't.
That is what I'm saying. Well, I'm not asking for your consent.
So you're claiming
All
again
right.
that I'm your property.
No.
You're giving me orders.
I am not claiming you're my property because you're not my property. You are a human being who's been allegedly, or who, against whom it's been alleged you've broken the law.
Most of the time, James, they don't recognize that contradiction of terms.
So, all right, we will see you at 9:30 on March the 8th, 2021 at the courthouse in New Westminster in person. I suggest you bring the material that the Crown has pen so that you can make notes as the witnesses speak, so you can keep track of the evidence. And you will have to follow whatever
All these folks got to work on their green screen game.
the health protocols are. So we will see you on March the 8th, 2021 at the New Westminster Courthouse for trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll disconnect.
Well, these are public hearings, so, and I would imagine for a hearing, if a trial conducts like this, then it's much more easy to record these proceedings.
Thanks, Paul. Killer. So there you go, everybody. What a complete shit show there that was going on with Mac in the courthouse. Like I said, you start to see the shenanigans that are going on. You saw the enormous incompetence of them not having the correct documentation there that we ensured from the 18th that they would have in that court file. And you paid attention there that he's saying that every citizen, every person, right? And then he backtracked. Then he says that everyone that's in Canada is bound by these laws. Well, again, that word should have come up. Whose laws are we talking about here? But Mac
Canada's
did a great job in essence that he got the key.
Definitely needs a Skyrim wake up in the heritage background.
Core facts on.
If I could make that happen, I would.
On the record that they received these communications with the notice.
Or have like the fall of like Diamond City in my background, since I'm playing Fallout 4 now. Again.
This is of liability.
For like the 10th time.
The notice of appearance and notice to jurisdiction. And as you saw, none of this was read on the record, which was required, but at least he admitted that he received it, so we can move forward on that process with him. I want everyone to know here that you want to speak a little bit, Mac, to what was going on, because I imagine you were very frustrated as well listening to that, and it was very difficult for me to sit there and listen to it. But again, we had to let that man talk, and the more he talked, you saw that he started going in circles.
Yeah, I didn't know how much.
Yeah, that wasn't live. That was like a recording, and this is their commentary of the hearing itself.
Of an attack I could go on. There's a lot of things I would have said, but I tried to remain as honorable, so I was biting my tongue as much as possible. You know, I'd like to ask him if this is a quasi court. Is he a quasi judge? You know, say things like that, and you know, hammer home again. Like I had after speaking with you beforehand that this was going to be over in 1 minute. So I was kind of shocked that, it went this far, and the fact that he was lying so much and being evasive.
By the way, guys, I'm gonna be wrapping up in about 5 minutes, because most of the time they're like just have a circle jerk with each other. There's actually another updated. They actually just recently had another live discussion with each other about paperwork that they've since filed with each other regarding this issue that I will be talking about later in a later live stream. But it's now that the hearing's over, you kind of got the gist of how these guys operate and how these guys and their thought process is when it comes to these actual hearings. So, I'll be finishing up here in about 5 minutes.
At first I was remaining honorable and listening and not interrupting as best as possible. But the end of it, me and my friends that were over here, like we lost all our appetite. We wanted to have breakfast and that, and yeah, it was an unreal experience to go through that and want to say more and find that fine line of being belligerent and remain.
Part is that when you know that you're in the right, and the reason I said it's over in a minute, it is over in a minute if they addressed and recognized those 4 questions that you put to them, and you put it to them multiple times within that ridiculous, like that's what I'm saying. We shouldn't have been on that call for a half an hour. It should have been over in the first, 4 or 5 minutes, right? Once you laid that information out, Daniel should have turned to the Crown, said, produce the evidence, and that.
Oh, well, and you know what? Shocker. It didn't end in 5 minutes. So either you're going to say that they're all corrupt, or maybe it's that your bullshit is irrelevant and has no meaning and no bearing on the procedures at hand. But you're going to choose the former, that they're all corrupt. It's not my bullshit paperwork that's not working and has no validity in reality. It's that they're all corrupt. That's the conclusion that you're drawing from this.
That's what I like what Mac did on his own when he said, can you show me where the Quarantine Act is a law, right? That's not a law. You addressed that very correctly.
It is a law.
And they just ignore it. See, and they're able to get away with this because we are standing in these quasi courts, these legal realms, this legal jurisdiction that has nothing to do with a man or a woman. It only has to do with a citizen or persons. See, that's why he was fighting Max so hard to even commit to saying man or woman. He kept wanting to go back to human, and then you heard him say later, it's
because it's obnoxious. It's fucking obnoxious. That's why he wasn't being direct with you, because it's fucking obnoxious to entertain your bullshit. As if saying whether or not it's a man, woman, person, or citizen has any fucking distinction in this context, because it doesn't. It doesn't. That's why he was being hesitant.
This applies to every.
He didn't want to play your game. That was the whole idea.
Every citizen and resident or whatever else he said in the country. So
well, he did say you at one point, didn't he say you are a man, living man?
Yeah,
yes, you are, the 3rd time. So he admitted that. So now he's in complete dishonor by going ahead with these proceedings.
No, he's not.
Yeah, and they are. And this is what I'm saying. They wish to ignore, and they get away with this stuff because look at this particular shit show that went on here. This is all done in the private. The people aren't seeing this. Imagine if everybody could log in every day and see these court cases that are going on and see how people are coming forth and they're saying, excuse me, there's no verified claim before this court. You're challenging jurisdiction of that court. That is your right, right? And you did that, and this man completely...
You can, and the judge makes a ruling. The fact that you don't like the ruling, TS, appeal him.
Ignored it, right? So this is what people need to understand what we're up against. And to show Mac, as I said to everybody, I don't care who gets this done. Whoever can find a way to stop these people initially, what they're doing, that's the most important thing. And that's why I brought up with Mac after this. I said, I'm familiar with Esler Levant.
Exactly. People have jobs.
Levant from Rebel News. And of course, I've knocked this whole thing with the fighting the fines things because it's got nothing to do with addressing, as Mac and I are trying to do here, that these courts have no jurisdiction over we the people in the first place. And this has nothing to do with law. It has to do with legal. It has nothing to do with a man or woman, only persons. And that's why you heard that term used many times from this man acting as the judge at that time. So it's a very disturbing thing when you have to first and foremost go through this, when you understand that what you're speaking to is the truth and these people just ignore you. That is why we file our claims and our courts, because in Mac's court, that man acting as the judge, he has no jurisdiction or control over that court.
It doesn't matter if your court has no enforcement power at all. It had no recognition. It doesn't fucking matter who has jurisdiction in your fucking fake ass court if there's no enforcement, no recognition outside of you two. No one's going to care. You hand off an order from your bullshit court to a sheriff, and they're going to be like, who the fuck is the Pahar court? Never heard of it. I'm not going to enforce shit from that. Then what are you going to do? Fucking hell. The guru never talks about the end game. The guru never talks about how your court is going to be enforced. They never, ever talk about that. So when Pahar is eventually found guilty and is sentenced to whatever couple of weeks or months in prison for violating the Quarantine Act, what's going to happen? My guess is that Christopher James will say, well, here's the example of the corruption in the court system. And he'll probably drop Pahar like a sack of potatoes and pretend he doesn't exist and move on to his next mark.
It's the Pahar court. And this is ultimately what they're fearful of. Okay? Because all these rulings that this man was pointing to and relating
Why be afraid of a court that doesn't exist?
to, referencing to, those are rulings from other court proceedings that went on. That has nothing to do with Mac. They can't paint a paintbrush across every man and woman in this country. Oh,
yeah, they can.
There was this case that we ruled on 3 weeks ago here, or 6 months, or 60 years ago, right? And that one said basically that what you're saying is all nonsense.
Welcome to the common law, bitch.
That's really? Well, this is the here and now, and my fellow man and woman have every right to see the information and the truth that I'm bringing forward. And this man didn't do that, right? He's not going to hear it because he can't. He doesn't want to listen to any of this because the second that a man or a woman steps out into the light and actually makes them produce this evidence that there is jurisdiction going on in this court, they're finished. Everything is exposed. So what I said...
So that's the end game. That's the end game, the exposure. Oh, we showed them that we show the corruption. Okay. You and your tiny-ass bubble of people who already believe in you in the first place.
I said to Mac, and I'm an open, transparent guy. I told Mac after we talked about this, after we hung up for a few hours, I called him back and I reached out. And what did I tell you to do, Mac? You can tell everybody.
You told me to reach out to Rebel News and Ezra Levant and submit my case to them for representation to help me out with Fight the Fines, to fight it in their legal world, what their lawyers are doing, and try to get some kind of a constitutional challenge going so that we can.
So your backup plan is to get an actual attorney to challenge the Quarantine Act itself, which, you know what? At least that's fucking legitimate. If you're at least challenging the constitutionality of the Quarantine Act, that's actually legitimate. That's something to chew on. That's something that's at least plausible. Not this bullshit that you're doing right now.
Fight them in their court, in their legal system.
That's right. And like I say, as I said, to fight in the legal world. I can't fight in the legal world, but in the law.
Yeah, because you're not a fucking attorney.
World? Oh, I'll mop the floor with these people.
Okay, cringe meme. Nobody's going to flying fucking care that you can mop the floor in your own made-up bullshit court.
That's how quick it is, because when these 4 questions are brought out before a jury of our peers, they're all going to understand where Mac is standing, that he's caused.
Well, at least in pretend world, I can beat the flying fuck out of these guys. In pretend world.
There's no wrong or harm to anyone, as we've gone over, and they're going to find this man not guilty. Not only.
That's a good point, Heather. That's a good point that they say, that Chris recommended that he go to these guys who are actual attorneys, even though he called everybody who was an attorney or a bar member or black robe, whatever, are all parasites.
Not only not guilty, but then they're going to find all these people. Remember, this is massive fraud that's occurring. Think of the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that are going to be paid out since this entire corrupt process began, from all these bylaw officers. This is a new one that we learned out about this too. This has been sent to ICBC, right? Who the hell is that, right? This is another service corporation that's involved in this. Will just a man or woman there? That's the first time I heard this on this call today. So we have to look into and write to them. Is there a man or woman there that's got a verified claim against Mac? Because maybe we've missed something here, right? But we know that is not the case that's going on here. And that's why it's important that we bring this out into the light. All right. And you don't have to look at it.
It's 2021 and we say, quote, in Minecraft. Really?
Say, see, well, what Christopher's saying, nothing works. No, you have to understand the evil that we're up against and we've been dealing with. This has been in place in this country and in this world for over 150 years. Okay, these courts. And we are finally coming to our fruition. We are finally recognizing who we are as a man or a woman, and we are going to correct this, and we don't allow these people to continue to bully us. So why I told Mac to reach out to Ezra Levant, and that is because they're doing charter challenges. I was talking to Adam from Adam's Barbecue. We're very close in what we're doing as well. And Adam, yes, still has lawyers. He's fired, I think, 5 or 6 that he originally had. But he realizes the corruption, what they are all implementing. But he does have lawyers that are simply doing, and I've learned it was...
Courts have been around for a lot longer than that. Now, the modern court system that you and I recognize, I would say they've been around about 300 years. Yeah, three or 400 years.
You know,
well, I think we're talking. I think in terms of like common law courts, as you and I in the United States or in the Commonwealth countries would recognize as, they've been around for about 400 years or so.
They're working very diligently on these constitutional challenges and the charter challenges. That's the way the legal world has saw how to undermine and address these tickets that they're doing right now, basically trespassing against the people. But again, in their world, they're simply fighting the ticket. No one is being held accountable for the wrong and harm that they've done. And that's why I'm saying is that there's people that are being wronged and harmed every day. There's elderly people that are being terrorized in their homes. There's the children that are being terrorized, everything that's going on. And that's why what Mac is doing here, why what I'm doing and other people moving these claims in courts forward is so important. They will not get away with this when we have a few thousand people around the courthouse and in the courthouse, hopefully with law enforcement as well standing with.
Again, fucking mob rule, and then hopefully having law enforcement there to help you guys out.
When we're moving the Pahar court.
See, that's hopes and dreams that he's going to have thousands of people backing him up in this bullshit-ass court, and then hoping that local law enforcement is going to magically be on his side to give this court legitimacy.
Because when we move that Pahar court, we're going to be putting out warrants for everybody that you saw in that call to arrest. That's what's going to happen. And we're going to bring them into the courthouse, and then the jury of our peers is sitting there, the people. And do you think they're not going to understand, again, those 4 questions simply, and then they see what these people have been doing? If you had any idea what these people are making money-wise for this kind of so-called court, quasi-court, I also noticed they said, well, it's not really, it's common law, but it's also a combination between common law, and then he's referring to what the legislators are creating within this service.
Yeah, yeah.
Corporation. Well, Mac didn't agree to any of that.
Your individual explicit consent is not required.
That doesn't apply to a man or woman.
Yeah, it does.
Show me, that's, I mean, if I was in Mac's place, there's a lot of things, obviously Mac wanted to say too. It was also very difficult for me sitting there having to listen to this, but I wanted to, put the key core questions out there to try and drill down on what they're using to have jurisdiction over this man. That's why we made him explain, well, where are these rules coming from? I knew it wasn't the rules of civil procedure. And I knew it wasn't also the Supreme Court civil rules that were going on, but I wanted him to answer it. And not only...
Oh my God, Roden, did you just drop a fucking Star Trek reference?
Did he answer it, but also we got an...
I don't even like Star Trek, and I actually get that reference. What the hell's wrong with me?
Email, didn't we, from Adrian Switzer, the woman afterwards. And again, I have nothing against Adrian, these people, but they've got to understand what they're doing to their fellow man. It's wrong. All right? And we have to stop this, right? Like I said, that's why the Second and First World Wars...
I thought that was Captain Kirk, or it was Captain Kirk quoting Peter Pan. It was probably Captain Kirk quoting Peter Pan.
People gave their lives for these freedoms, and Mac is standing up here honorably. I'm sure all of you listening to this were probably watching and feeling very frustrated as well. Like, get the frick on with this. Like, what are you people doing over there? And believe me, Mac was feeling that pressure and everything too. Remember, Mac has never been in this situation before. He's never, he's at home. It's even worse when you go into these repugnant courthouses, okay?
Repugnant courthouses.
Because then the intimidation is a full-on, because they got the law enforcement there, and every time I go into court, sometimes they move the police up in behind me as if to intimidate me, right? And that's what you have to understand. That's what they would have started doing with Mac if he was talking. They're keyed off certain things.
Yeah, all right, we're done here. The guy is, filleting himself, and Mark is happy to join in.
Talking over some.
So I'm gonna stop it right here. I still have to work in the morning, so I'm not gonna be going any further tonight. Like I said, they have an update where they actually go into a lot of their documentation that they send into the court, and also the court's responses that I think is actually even more interesting than the hearing itself. Plus, you don't get to hear the double audio and obnoxiousness that comes in with the hearing. So I'm gonna take a look at that later. I will probably be talking about what happened with the Moors today. I have already been talking to Natalie. I think we might end up doing a collaboration just kind of to talk about our experience with that, as well as the experience of Moors in general and their entire ideology when it comes to the law and nationality, etc., etc., etc. But so look out for that. And yeah, you guys have a good night. Take care. Stay safe out there, and you guys have a good one. Adios.